The Action News investigators have learned top expressway managers failed to act after their own engineers discovered signs of a sinkhole more than a year ago. Well, tonight we unravel part of the mystery behind the Crosstown collapse. When the collapse of the Crosstown sent tons of concrete and iron crashing down, no one was badly hurt. But the accident shattered the confidence of many commuters.
It looks bad. I don't know if I ever want to ride on that bridge.
Within hours of the accident, expressway officials blamed the collapse of Pier 97 on a mysterious sinkhole, an act of God they claimed impossible to predict.
I don't know what to call it. I don't like to call it an act of God.
But our investigation found that a sinkhole may have been growing there all along, and expressway officials knew about it. Our review of hundreds of engineering documents and field notes tell the real story. Last year, engineers took a soil sample drilling 80 feet underground. They discovered signs of a sinkhole under the area that would support Pier 98, one pier away from the collapse.
If it shows soft material there, it would be a concern.
Bill McDaniel is the construction manager on the Crosstown project. Records show his engineers reported signs of a sinkhole in their field notes and added reinforcements to Pier 98. But they did nothing to shore up the adjacent piers, including the one that collapsed. McDaniel says he hadn't heard about any of this.
I haven't had that brought to my attention. I haven't looked at any of these boring logs or such. I've let the geotech folks review those, bring them to us. They're expert in this area. I'm not.
58.4.
So we had our own experts take a look at the records. Jeff Ellis is an independent environmental engineer who believes expressway officials dropped the ball.
If I found a small void like that, I probably would have done some additional testing in the area of this pier.
But McDaniel never ordered any additional testing. Crews went ahead constructing Pier 97 with no additional reinforcements. Ellis says it's possible the sinkhole under Pier 98 could have grown, swallowing Pier 97.
That could be like a small part of the sinkhole. This soft zone or void could grow into a much larger zone once you move away from this particular spot the boring was done.
Expressway officials admit what we uncovered should have raised red flags a long time ago, but they will not confirm that the sinkhole discovered last year and then ignored could have caused last month's collapse. In the next couple of weeks, the Expressway Authority will conduct soil tests around Pier 97 and 98 to check for more sinkholes. They've decided not to test additional piers on either side because they say that would just be too costly. Well, tonight, the Action News investigators dug deep on a story that affects thousands of local commuters and taxpayers. Last September, our Mike Mason was the first to report structural problems with the Crosstown Expressway project. Then in April, 7 months after Mike's report, a portion of that expressway collapsed. Before Mike brings us tonight's developments, let's take you back to where it all began. September 12th, 2003, an Action News exclusive. We uncover major mistakes in the construction of piers built for the new Crosstown Expressway. Steel rods designed to support the pier were incorrectly measured, leaving the concrete weak in some areas. Expressway officials fired 4 inspectors, including this man, Mark Delashaw.
This clearly was careless. I thought it was absolutely a good decision to fire the people involved.
In September, company officials downplayed the mistakes, insisting the piers were structurally sound.
You're going to guarantee that these are going to be safe?
We're very comfortable that these are safe columns.
7 months later, on April 13th, 2004, Pier 97 collapsed. Within hours, expressway officials blamed a sinkhole, dismissing any notion that a structural defect might have caused the pier to collapse.
One of our piers actually broke through and entered into a sinkhole.
Well, tonight we have even more evidence questioning the sinkhole theory. In fact, our investigation reveals the same crew of men fired by the Expressway Authority for careless work had their hands all over Pier 97, and they made some serious mistakes while building it. Mike Mason is here now with details. Mike, what'd you find?
Well, you know, a lot of people want to know what happened, but at this point, there's really no official cause. Expressway officials want all of us to believe that a sinkhole swallowed Pier 97, but after months of sophisticated testing, expressway officials have been unable to prove that theory. So now the spotlight is shifting to the structural integrity of those piers and the qualifications of the people who built them. The Expressway Authority says it won't really know what happened to Pier 97 until they pull it out of the ground. But while they wait, we've been digging through records, finding evidence of problems with how the pier was constructed. Last summer, construction company URS began digging a hole for Pier 97 foundation, or shaft. Records show it didn't take long before the shaft began to get crooked. Independent engineer Joe Robinson says that could cause major weaknesses in the bridge's support.
And the shaft is supposed to be 90 degrees straight down by design, and you have it crooked, then you're not going to have the strength in that pier as you would if it was constructed properly.
Workers at URS say they straightened out the shaft, but there's no way to know exactly what they did to straighten it out, or if they even did any work at all. That's because there are no reports of the repairs to back it up. We also discovered when workers poured the concrete for the foundation, they had to pour in a lot more than anyone expected. It made us wonder, was the shaft still crooked, requiring more concrete to fill it up? So how much concrete are we really talking about here? Well, it's 6 cubic yards, and this is what 6 cubic yards looks like. It's enough to fill 27 of these wheelbarrows. So the question now is, where did all that concrete go? URS says overpouring concrete is common practice, but our independent engineer says 6 cubic yards is way too much. And we found yet another problem. After the concrete was poured, URS workers realized they had built the shaft 5 inches too high. Just a few inches off and the whole project could be compromised. The company claims it fixed the shaft, but again, we can't tell you what they actually did because nobody kept any repair records. Engineer Joe Robinson says that's a big problem.
And it should be reviewed by an engineer.
If you're wondering why repair records are not being kept at such a huge construction project, well, so are we. The contract URS signed with the Expressway Authority requires them to keep a written record of all deficiencies noted in the work of the contractors, and they must document the corrective action that was taken. URS's local vice president, Bill McDaniel, refused to explain why records of the mistakes made on the shaft were never kept. Instead, McDaniel told us to talk to the Expressway Authority. They had us speak with their consultant, Harold Aldrich. Aldrich says we're making a big deal out of nothing.
There's absolutely nothing that would suggest that anything you're asking about had anything to do with this pier falling down. This is a wild goose chase, Mike.
Aldrich may call it a wild goose chase, but our investigation found even more problems with basic record keeping. Aldrich attended weekly construction meetings, but he couldn't explain why these daily inspection reports were never signed by an engineer.
This is a huge construction project involving thousands of people. That a particular piece of paper didn't have a signature on it isn't necessarily in itself meaningful.
But it's more than just one piece of paper. We're talking about repair records that don't exist and dozens of construction reports that were never signed by an engineer.
I want to stress that the engineer isn't signing off and dating these construction reports, and that's crucial.
Instead of relying on an engineer to ensure the safety of the expressway, an expressway that will carry thousands of commuters each day, URS relied on this man, Mark De La Shaw. De La Shaw inspected the foundations of all the piers, including Pier 97. Is there a need to send an engineer out to take a look at it?
Those are engineers that are inspecting it.
Mark De La Shaw was an engineer?
Yes, is an engineer.
Truth is, De La Shaw has no engineering license at all. Aldrich later apologized for the mistake and admitted De La Shaw is not an engineer. Fact is, De La Shaw has a history of getting things wrong. Last summer, URS fired De La Shaw for failing to notice a major design flaw in the foundations of more than 40 piers. But as an inspector, you should be inspecting these things, right?
Oh, yeah, and
Despite all the mistakes and all the missing repair records, De La Shaw and his crew put Pier 97 into the ground. It stayed right where it was until the day it came tumbling down.
Nobody really monitors documents until something occurs. People only get involved or only worry about documentation after the fact.
Another pier on the Crosstown Expressway expansion project is sinking. Tonight, the project is shut down, and engineers are scrambling to fix it. We have live team coverage from the air and on the ground. Good evening, everyone. I'm Wendy Ryan.
And I'm Brendan McLaughlin. We start with this Action News exclusive. we first brought you at 5, and we kick off our team coverage with Chris Martinez live at the scene of this partial collapse. And Chris, must be very disappointing to commuters who have been looking forward to the completion of this.
Absolutely. They're very worried to hear this is happening again. The problem this time around is with Pier 99. It is just 2 piers down from the one that collapsed 3 months ago today. Now, right now, you can see this pier is roped off. The problem was discovered as part of the bridge was being loaded on top. Tonight, engineers are trying to figure out exactly what's wrong and how to fix it. According to PCL workers, this latest problem was discovered over a week ago. They say Pier 99 has sunk down into the ground at least 3 inches. Construction here has been brought to a standstill.
This was serious from day one.
The Expressway Authority believes the problem with Pier 99 isn't structural, but rather in the ground. They say they've started extensive testing of the ground around the pier to figure out the cause and find a solution.
We're going to look at probably ways that we can stop it from sinking further, bringing it back up. Again, I'm speculating, to be honest with you. I leave that to the technical engineers to tell me what the plan will be.
The Expressway Authority is confident they'll fix the problem, whatever it is. In fact, they say they guarantee this bridge won't open unless it's safe. But that guarantee isn't good enough for everyone.
How can you guarantee it? How can you? Because they was building it like they guaranteed their safety the first time.
Curtis Marshall uses the Crosstown at least 3 times a week. Now he doesn't think he'll use the new addition at all.
When you look at the structure, you can see what kind of catastrophe it can cause.
And right now you're taking a live look at the Crosstown Expressway from Action Air 1, and you can see traffic so far not affected by this latest problem. The results from the tests of the ground should be ready, we're told, in about 3 weeks, and we are also told extensive testing of the ground around every pier. All 213 of them will now get underway to look for any more potential problems. We're live along the Crosstown. I'm Chris Martinez, ABC Action News.
They might be afraid of what they find. Thank you, Chris Martinez, for that live report. Wendy?
Today's latest problem comes just 4 days after our Mike Mason uncovered construction mistakes in the pier that collapsed back in April. Today, Mike went digging for more answers. And Mike, I know you spoke with Expressway officials and bridge experts. How are they planning to fix this multi-million-dollar project?
There's a lot of questions up in the air. I mean, this project has been plagued with plenty of problems already. This is just a public relations nightmare for them. So far, we've uncovered 2 major problems with the Crosstown Expressway: structural mistakes with the piers and the soft soil underneath them. Addressing these problems will be difficult, but it may be even harder for officials to restore public confidence. Expressway officials are not taking any chances after discovering the problems at Pier 99. The entire Crosstown project was immediately ground to a halt.
We have stopped work. We have stopped work because of the special things that have happened at Pier 97. We're erring on the side of caution, and we're stopping.
The collapsed Pier 97 is still in the ground. Nearby, Pier 99 is roped off.
You're not even supposed to be here, though. That's
really
the whole thing.
Construction crews have told us to stay away from Pier 99, and for good reason. They say it has sunk 3 inches. Expressway officials say it's 1.5 inches, but one thing is clear: this pier is under a lot of pressure, and it could continue sinking at any time. Our own investigation found soil experts discovered signs of a sinkhole under the area that would support Pier 98, the pier between 97 and 99. Reinforcements were added to Pier 98, but nothing was done to strengthen the surrounding piers.
If I found a small void like that, I probably would have done some additional testing in the area of this pier.
Independent expert Jeff Eller says it's possible the sinkhole under Pier 98 could have grown, swallowing Pier 97 and now Pier 99. So did the Expressway soil engineers overlook crucial information showing the ground was too soft to build this bridge? We discovered soil engineers failed to sign off on many reports as required. So we asked Bill Bracken, a bridge designer, an expert on bridge accidents, what needs to be done to keep this project safe for the public.
The foundation engineer needs to figure out why it dropped or why they are dropping. The bridge engineer then needs to take a look at the bridge to decide what impact that drop has on the bridge itself.
And this afternoon, Wendy, we did speak with PCL. That is the company that is the general contractor on this project. Gary Harder is the head of that. company. He says the latest sinking pier is not a structural issue at all. He says the focus is now on testing the soil around every pier on the project. So it looks like he may be pointing fingers a little bit at the geotechs, the soil engineers on this project. They're looking at the ground underneath the piers. He says it's nothing to do with what we did. It's not the structure.
Mike Mason found even more problems with the piers that support that enormous roadway project. Mike, what's the new information?
Well, expressway officials are now saying that they've made this big discovery. They say they've found soft ground underneath several piers, but we've discovered more soft ground under more piers, and this should not be a big surprise to any expressway official because this report right here shows they've known about all of this stuff for 3 years.
We don't try to make a bridge that's going to collapse. That just wouldn't make sense.
Expressway officials say they did everything possible to keep the crosstown safe. But this report, written in 2001, raises serious questions. It shows how engineers tested the soil beneath every pier and found soft clay beneath many of them. The ground below Pier 106 was full of soft, sandy clay. Workers had to dig 147 feet before they hit solid rock. Now look at Pier 98. Experts found layers of clay and soft rock. They finally found solid limestone at 87 feet. Soil expert Jeff Eller says the soft zone around these piers could be a problem. Would this soft zone raise a red flag in your mind?
It would be a concern. It definitely would make me investigate the area a little more, yes.
But instead of investigating alternatives, expressway officials built other piers in the same area, including Piers 97 and 99. Last week, expressway officials downplayed the issue.
There's absolutely nothing that would suggest that anything you're asking about had anything to do with this pier falling down. This is a wild goose chase, Mike.
This week, officials changed their tune.
It is a major problem. We're working on this problem right now.
And expressway officials are also changing their story when it comes to the collapse of Pier 97. When it sank 20 feet in the ground back in April, they quickly blamed it on a sinkhole.
One of our piers actually broke through and entered into a sinkhole.
Now they have a different story.
At this point, we're not saying a sinkhole, but we do have an extreme geological condition.
You said sinkhole before, though.
What we first saw and the way it acted initially, and again, we said this many times even before, we're speculating because we aren't geotechs.
Perry Don Brown says they're now done speculating, and soft earth is what caused 97 to collapse. So why didn't anyone notice this until now?
Well, at the time, we didn't know that we had those special geological conditions. At the time that we were doing it, they looked like they were just the same conditions throughout the project. It did look the same.
But what about that report back in 2001? The answers may have been there all along. Expressway officials say they will be doing additional soil testing near Piers 97 and 99, but they have not committed to testing the ground in other areas. They do plan to double-check all of the piers, though, to see if they show signs of sinking. And there are 213 piers, so of course that's going to be a lot of work.
Well, Mike, I'm not an engineer, of course, but it seems like a sinkhole would be good news because it would imply a limited, isolated area, whereas soft ground could affect the whole project.
Sure, and the difference between a sinkhole and soft earth is that a sinkhole opens up and it can grow. So, you know, if it's soft earth, that means it could be anywhere along this expressway, and it also affects the insurance claim because they had already filed a sinkhole insurance claim. So they say that they do have an alternative to filing a claim, some other sort of claim for damages, but not a sinkhole claim for sure.
The Action News Hour starts right now. Good evening. I'm Linda Hurtado.
And I'm Brendan McLaughlin. Wren is on assignment tonight. As crews tear down bridge sections to find out why another pier has sunk, a construction worker at the Crosstown is talking only to Action News. Our Mike Mason broke this story on Tuesday, and tonight he has this Action News exclusive. Mike, it seems the more you know about this story, the more worrisome it is.
Oh, I know. And this is really the first time that a Crosstown employee has come forward, so it's very important. The man who blew the whistle has been working on the Crosstown expansion project since day one. Tonight, he's telling us what he witnessed when Piers 97 and 99 sank. You don't think this project is safe right now?
No, not at this point in time.
For the first time, this worried Crosstown worker speaks up. We agreed to conceal his identity, change his voice, and his name. We'll call him David. David is the one who told us that Pier 99 was sinking. You blew the whistle on it.
Yeah, I guess they just wanted to keep it hush-hush for as long as they can.
David works for PCL, the Crosstown's general contractor. He's afraid of losing his job, but he's more concerned about the risk to motorists. David says Pier 99 first began sinking at the end of June, when workers loaded it up with huge segments of the bridge.
They put 2 spans up, which is 16 segments on each span, and when they put the second span on, which is approximately 3 million pounds of concrete, they noticed that it sank a few inches.
David says work on the bridge stopped immediately. And after the 4th of July weekend, he says PCL officials quickly called an emergency meeting.
They said it was still sinking.
David now stays far away from Pier 99. He learned his lesson the first time when Pier 97 sank last April. He was right there when it collapsed.
Pieces of concrete fall into the highway, and you heard loud bangs, I guess, from the concrete coming down.
Besides collapsing piers, David has also witnessed major mistakes during construction. That's why he now wants to warn the public before it's too late. If they fix those 2 piers right now and put a bridge on top of it, would you drive on the Crosstown Expressway today?
No, not yet. Not until they check the other piers out.
Tonight at 11, our exclusive whistleblower interview continues. David tells us more about the problems beyond just the 2 sinking piers, and David says the actual bridge itself could be flawed. We'll show you the evidence tonight at 11.
Well, at the very least, we're looking at major delays, probably major cost overruns. At what point will the taxpayers be on the hook for this, Mike?
Well, that's a good question. They say they're going to make it up in toll money, but a lot of the money came in the form of a bond from DOT, so it's interesting to see if that's really going to meet what we need to come up with for this extra expense.
Could
it's
be
a lot
enormous,
of money.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Tonight, new information about what caused the Leroy Selman Crosstown Expressway to collapse. Board members lashed out tonight about the way the whole thing was handled. Our own Mike Mason was the one to first expose this problem with the Crosstown last year, and here with an update. What do you got, Mike?
Right. Well, tonight's committee meeting was designed to help answer some questions. It did that, but it also raised some at the same time. So far, we know that Pier 97 has collapsed and Pier 99 sank more than an inch. Tonight, Expressway board members wanted to know if this could have been prevented. They were told maybe, but it would have required more testing and more money. The Expressway's executive director, Pat McHugh, wants his board members and the public to know he's doing everything he can to keep the Crosstown safe.
This is our bridge. We're spending $350 million on it, and we will see to it it's built properly.
But board member Thomas Scott is not so convinced. Scott is also a Hillsborough County commissioner.
The credibility and the structure of the pier right now is being questioned by a lot of people. I think you know that.
Scott claims Expressway officials never notified him when Pier 99 began to sink. He and the general public only found out after Action News broke the story.
That should have happened, and if it did not, I apologize for that and assure you that that is not.
Let me just say, I mean, I understand, I respect that, but I haven't been notified as of today. The only reason I got about because Channel 28 came out, want to do the interview, and I had my office call your office, and I talked to somebody at that point. That's unacceptable.
Okay. Commissioner, with all due respect, I was advised by your staff that you were on vacation, which is why we did not have direct contact with you.
Board members also questioned whether more piers could begin sinking. In 2001, soil experts found soft ground below several other piers, but they never did any extensive testing. It was known that soft materials existed in these areas, so why didn't we address this at that time years ago?
It's not a question of knowing that the soft material is there. It's a question of finding the strong material and building on it.
McHugh now seems to be changing his tune now that Pier 99 has also shown signs of sinking.
Although the pier is founded in rock, that immediately adjacent to it is this soft material, and that's scary.
McHugh now promises to keep all board members fully informed. He also estimates that that repairing piers 97 and 99 will cost $11 million. Additional ground testing on the project will cost another $3 million. But it's what's needed right now to ensure that this thing is going to be done properly. You see, the problem is there are holes all through this project, and they were only testing the ground underneath the exact pier. So if they had done testing near the pier, they probably would have seen the problem.
Well, was that taking a shortcut, or would it have been standard procedure to take more test holes?
Well, that's a strange thing. Expressway officials say that it is standard just to do one test below every pier, but the DOT official at tonight's meeting said, I want you to show me where these standards are spelled out, because he wasn't even sure if those were DOT standards or not.
Action News was the first to expose numerous construction problems in the Crosstown project. Now the Expressway Authority is admitting the project is in jeopardy. Our team coverage, including reaction from decision makers and drivers, starts right now. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Wendy Ryan.
And I'm Brendan McLaughlin. The investigation is our lead story. Our Mike Mason was first to sound the alarm about the expressway more than a year ago. Mike joins us now with the latest developments. And Mike, a lot of people, even in the media, officials are sort of responding as if this is something entirely new.
Yeah, and we've been talking about problems for more than a year, and now that we have this major problem, they're going to have to spend tens of millions of dollars, so everybody's responding to it, but we've been on top of it for more than a year, like you said. After months of denials, the Expressway Authority now concedes this project has serious structural and design flaws. It's something we've been reporting for nearly a year, and today the outrage is growing as we uncover how the people in charge could have prevented this entire mess.
Most of the foundations are found to be seriously flawed in their design.
The Expressway Authority claims this latest development is a total shock. But we've been reporting signs of trouble since last September. Problems Expressway officials knew all about all along. Now they're blaming general engineering consultant URS for this latest mistake. We tried to speak with URS's local manager, Bill McDaniel, after a recent board meeting. Let me just show you a couple of things that I found.
Doesn't matter, Mike.
Records show McDaniel knew about the flaws with the pier's foundations more than a year ago, but so did Expressway officials. In June of 2003, engineers discussed problems with the foundation for Pier 92. The steel cage inside was damaged and twisted up. McDaniel said a structural engineer will need to sign off on that. Legal problems could arise if this bridge ever comes down. We asked Bill Bracken to weigh in. He's a forensic engineer who investigates accidents like this one. How do I find out if a structural engineer really did sign off on that?
There should be paperwork to that effect.
But we found no paperwork to show engineers had signed off on any key reports. And as you know, the bridge did come down on April 13th when Pier 97 collapsed. During a construction meeting on July 9th, 2003, one URS engineer announced, I have information here indicating that Pier 97 was not built within specifications.
I would hope that with these problems that you say they encountered on 92 and 97, those problems should have dictated that the engineer go back in and take a look at it. I would have hoped that they would have caught any substantial flaws at that point in time by going back in and reevaluating their work. But
like these foundation flaws?
I would say yes.
Expressway officials say they will now test each and every pier and do whatever it takes to make repairs, but it may be even more difficult to restore public confidence at this point. Pat McHugh is the Expressway's executive director. He's in charge of building the biggest bridge project in Tampa Bay. Tonight, he's accused of posing as a professional engineer, even though he doesn't even hold a license.
Today, for the first time, we have facts.
Pat McHugh is the leader of the Tampa-Hillsborough County Expressway Authority. He's in charge of hundreds of millions of dollars in highway funds. When McHugh was hired as executive director back in 1996, he held a professional engineering license. But we've discovered that license is now null and void. In fact, McHugh's license expired on February 28, 1999, more than 5 years ago, years before the now troubled expressway expansion project even began.
What? He's not a professional engineer?
No.
I thought that he was a professional engineer. Everything I seen his name on had PE behind it.
Consulting engineer Joe Robinson and many others who have been following the Crosstown project assumed that McHugh was a licensed professional engineer. After all, McHugh's business cards boast his PE or professional engineer title. Expressway Bob Clark was also duped by the misleading card.
I knew that he had it on his card, so yeah, I assumed he was a PE.
A lot of people had good reason to think McHugh held an engineer's license. We found example after example of publications that refer to McHugh as a professional engineer. McHugh has repeatedly been listed as a professional engineer on the Expressway Authority's own website. Their 2002 annual report featured him as Pat McHugh, PE. A July 2004 newsletter about bridge technology features McHugh and refers to him as PE. The Worldwide Toll Operators Association has McHugh listed as a professional engineer. We found many more references to Pat McHugh with the title of professional engineer, each and every one published long after his license had expired.
Can you tell me why you maintained the title of professional engineer, even though you did not have a license?
It's not a true statement. Excuse me.
McHugh later emailed this statement saying, "I have never represented that I perform engineering functions for this agency. Those functions are performed by the authority's chief engineer and the engineering firms that report to him." But remember, McHugh has listed himself as an engineer on publications and even on the agency's own website. After our investigation began, Expressway officials scrambled to change Pat McHugh's business cards. Look at this card we obtained back in April, after the collapse of Pier 97. It says Patrick McHugh, PE, but just this week, we were handed this card. Look closely and you'll see the letters PE scratched out using a black pen.
If he has a PE behind his name and he's not properly licensed, and I would think that would be fraud, and somebody needs to report that to the board.
The Board of Professional Engineers requires continuing education courses for engineers to maintain their license, and Florida law is clear. It says a person may not use the name or title professional engineer or any words or letters tending to indicate that person holds an active license as an engineer when the person is not licensed. Our investigation reveals Pat McHugh is violating the law and could be charged with a first-degree misdemeanor. Joe Robinson feels McHugh deceived the public, and with the credibility of the entire Crosstown project already on shaky ground, he wonders if Pat McHugh's actions were part of the problem.
I mean, this may be part of the reason that we had a failed bridge. If he was a professional engineer, there's a certain amount of ethics and a certain amount of technical expertise that you must maintain.
Florida's Board of Professional Engineers will now send Pat McHugh a cease and desist order like this one, warning him to stop using the title of professional engineer. In the past hour, Pat McHugh emailed us this statement. In it, he blames his staff members for incorrectly printing documents with the PE designation on them. And he says for the past 5 years, he was not aware there was a PE on his own business card. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Mike. New details, this book has not yet been written.
Tonight, Governor Jeb Bush is weighing in on problems with the Crosstown Expressway. We caught up with Mr. Bush at a news conference in Bartow this afternoon and asked how he feels about the Crosstown's executive director, Pat McHugh.
If a road has got that much overrun and those kind of flaws, then it calls into question the management unless there's some problem with the consultants or the engineer.
Now, Governor Bush says he will investigate the Crosstown situation when the threat of all these hurricanes is no longer an issue. Meanwhile, public confidence is fading in the Expressway Authority's ability to pay its debts. Now, in August, investigator Mike Mason reported on serious design flaws in the project, and tonight he's uncovered mounting financial problems at the Expressway Authority. Mike?
You know, the governor's exact words were if it wasn't for all of these weather problems, he would be on the Crosstown project like white on rice. I mean, he's very concerned about this. Obviously an issue. But Expressway officials say there's nothing to worry about, and they promise to come up with the money to pay their bills. But time is ticking, and they don't have the cash, and now tens of millions of taxpayer dollars are on the line. This whole Crosstown mess is costing big bucks.
You have the overhead costs, which are roughly $11,000 per day.
Construction along the Crosstown stopped in July after Pier 99 began to sink. Before that, Pier 97 sank. And now consulting engineer Joe Robinson worries taxpayers may be stuck with the bill.
Because the taxpayers' money is probably being wasted, and if we have to do any kind of remedial action, it's going to be in the millions.
Robinson has reason to worry. Florida's Department of Transportation has loaned the Expressway Authority millions in taxpayer dollars. The authority now owes the state more than $153 million. $101 million of that has to be repaid by next June. That's only 9 months away, and right now the Expressway Authority has not even paid back a penny. Even though the Expressway Authority is scrambling to come up with all this money, they are still building a brand new headquarters right here in downtown Tampa. This is how it will look. It's a beautiful building and a multi-million-dollar venture. Board members approved construction in July, but their chief financial officer said that all future projects would be put on hold. That money would be needed to fix all the mistakes on the Crosstown project.
We're deferring resources that we had for planning for future projects.
But take a look. This is obviously still being built, and that's why some taxpayers feel this will all fall right back on them.
So taxpayers are going to be stuck with this regardless.
Expressway officials are now negotiating with DOT, asking for more time to repay their debt. Meanwhile, this is all news to Bill Bracken. He's a bridge engineer who has worked on a number of DOT projects. He had no idea taxpayer money was even being used to build this bridge.
I had no idea that the DOT had funded this project in excess of $150 million.
Bracken is the man state officials called to assess structural damage after a hurricane hits. He hopes taxpayers won't be hit with bailing out the Crosstown. After all, it's one disaster that could have been prevented.
It's disappointing to me as someone who's done work recently in the Punta Gorda area and more recently in the Pensacola area, to think what those two areas could do with $150 million. The fact that it's gone into this project is a little upsetting.
The Expressway Authority will have to sell bonds to pay back some of their DOT loans, but financial consultants say all of the construction problems with the Crosstown could result in a lower bond rating, and selling those bonds to investors won't be easy. Crews are now scrambling to make emergency repairs to yet another pier. At the same time, the Department of Transportation seems to be gaining control of the project. Pier number 4 is now the one being supported by wooden beams to keep it from sinking. Engineers say they are making emergency repairs because there's fear the foundation may fail. This pier is a long way from Pier 97, which sank 11 feet in April. Today, after months of pointing fingers, every party involved in the project met in one room to discuss what to do next. Executive Director Pat McHugh sat quietly. His project is now under intense scrutiny by the Department of Transportation in Tallahassee. At today's meeting, it became crystal clear he's losing control. Whatever Pat McHugh does from here on out must first be approved by DOT's structural engineer, William Nickus.
As soon as you give it to us, we should be also giving it to William Nickus.
The Expressway Authority has always blamed engineering firm URS for designing faulty foundations. We wanted to hear their side of the story. Senior Vice President Tom Logan came up from Boca Raton, and he promised to speak with us. That way we could let the public know their position. But then suddenly, Expressway officials called for a break, and then they called in their attorney, Steve Anderson.
You can get something a lot more attractive than this.
Anderson told us we had to leave, claiming this meeting involved legal negotiations and was not a public meeting. He also told URS not to speak with us, so we can't tell you what they had to say about all of this.
Can you just talk to us for a second? I've been asked not to, and it's per our contract with the client, and that's the agreement we have, and I have to have their permission. I don't have permission to discuss it with you.
Governor Bush is now getting involved with the Crosstown Expressway. 2 days ago, he held a meeting in Tallahassee with the DOT secretary.
We have breaking news now on the Crosstown Expressway project. The man in charge of that controversial roadway has just been fired. Mike Mason uncovered major problems with the Crosstown and confronted Pat McHugh many times looking for answers. Mike joins us now from the county center with the latest. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening, Brendan. Obviously, the writing was on the wall for Pat McHugh. He decided that instead of waiting for board members to fire him, that he would go ahead and terminate his contract all by himself. And before this meeting began today, this press release was issued saying that board members want to restore public confidence, and this is the best way to do it.
I believe that it would be in the best interests of this organization and of Mr. McHugh himself for us to change executive directors. I've spoken with Mr. McHugh, and he is in agreement.
It's official. Pat McHugh is fired. Expressway board members voted to terminate his contract this afternoon. Board chairman Tom Gibbs said the move is in McHugh's best interest, citing personal problems McHugh suffered after the collapse of Pier 97 last April.
And in addition to the stress and the heavy workload caused by the situation, Pat has also been dealing with a great deal of physical pain relating to his back.
But McHugh's mess was only made worse when we discovered he was claiming to be a licensed professional engineer, even though his license had expired 5 years ago. Action News is the only station to confront McHugh on this issue. Today, board members made it very clear they don't want any more surprises from the new executive director.
I assume that motion carries with it that the chair will do a thorough background check so we avoid any missteps at this critical period of time by having somebody have a surprise in their background.
Pat McHugh is making $165,000 a year as the executive director. Under the contract, even though he has left, he is still entitled to 1 year's salary. Filling in for him is the interim executive director, Brady Sneath, who is serving now as the chief financial officer. The meeting right now is still underway. As soon as it gets done, we are going to speak with some of the board members and have that reaction for you as soon as possible. Reporting live in downtown Tampa, Mike Mason, Action News.
Mike, I'm curious, restoring public confidence is a worthy goal, certainly, but did Pat McHugh accept any responsibility for the problems on the Crosstown Expressway, or did any board members lay any blame on him?
Well, at today's meeting, it was really just a written statement that the chairman was reading, and it seemed to have been written in part by Pat McHugh, saying that they thought that this was the best thing for the board. Really a very tame sort of letter, but as we had reported on Saturday, McHugh has been lashing out at the Department of Transportation and even the governor himself because he feels that they are conspiring against him to lay the blame on him. So it'll be interesting to see if he ever does go public on his side of the story. The fate of the Crosstown Expressway Authority lies right here in this report. State officials will take a look at this and decide whether construction will continue along the Crosstown Expressway or if the Crosstown Expressway Authority will even be allowed to exist. Even though the Crosstown Expressway collapsed and public confidence is shattered, expressway officials are still optimistic.
Future Expressway Authority is to demonstrate to the community and the leaders of the state that we're in control of this project. We're back underway as soon as we can. We have financial control. We've demonstrated all of those things in that report today.
Interim Executive Director Ralph Mervine hopes this report is enough to save the Expressway Authority and allow the Crosstown to remain a local project.
Any future bond sale can be used completely for repaying DOT and also for bridge repair.
Expressway officials laid out a financial plan to dig themselves out of this mess, but if the Department of Transportation secretary doesn't buy it, he could dissolve the Expressway Authority altogether and turn the Crosstown into a Florida turnpike.
There's a lot of material in that report that we need to address, both the technical and the financial. And it'll be submitted to him tomorrow, I understand, and I suspect the Secretary and I will have discussions about it and we'll respond to it.
No idea on how long DOT will look at this report before making a decision. We do know that board members have decided to hire a local attorney to sue URS or any other company they feel is at fault for building these faulty foundations. And tonight we also know that the cost to fix those foundations has risen from $70 million to $78 million, so a lot more than originally anticipated.
But first, the problems you haven't heard about on the troubled Crosstown Expressway. Good evening, I'm Wendy Ryan.
And I'm Brendan McLaughlin. Thanks for joining us. If you thought the problems on the Crosstown Expressway were already huge, just wait until you see what our investigators have uncovered this time. Sinking piers are just the beginning. It gets much worse. Investigator Mike Mason broke this story and exposed the mistakes on the project. And Mike, it seems the more you dig, the more you find out.
Yeah, and Brendan, this is probably the most serious investigation we've done yet on the Crosstown Expressway. We've talked a lot about piers and faulty foundations, but tonight we're investigating the elevated expressway portion of the Crosstown. We found parts of the bridge built with bad concrete, official documents altered, some missing altogether, and now one whistleblower says he was told to cover up mistakes. This man, who we'll call John, was hired by construction firm PCL to work on the section of bridge that crosses over I-75 in Brandon. It's an area considered free of problems until now. John was in charge of building concrete supports in the very center of each span. That mid-span segment holds the bridge together and keeps the middle from collapsing. John became concerned after noticing holes forming throughout those critical mid-span segments. What's the danger of having holes in the concrete?
The danger is eventually the concrete is going to crack from all
John
the pressure.
says the segment was riddled with small holes, creating a honeycomb effect like this one in the concrete. The holes were only visible from inside the bridge's tunnel, but inspectors would eventually find them. John says his PCL supervisor ordered him to cover the holes up with grout.
Go into the tunnel, mix it up, and cover up the honeycombs. Cover it up before the inspectors got there, which will be at dawn.
What did you think when they told you to patch up the holes so the inspector couldn't see them?
Heads will roll. Somebody's going to have to pay for this.
John says he refused to do the cover-up job. A co-worker did it instead. This quick fix saved PCL time and money. Why?
So they wouldn't have to tear it apart and do it right.
Is that safe?
No, it's not safe. It's totally unsafe.
Last August, we told PCL's Vice President, Jerry Harder, about John's accusations.
Well, I can tell you that if anything like that happened with our forces and we were aware of it, we would dismiss employees like that, because that's certainly, if that's the case, that's not something we would tolerate.
John says much of the cement used for construction had been setting in trucks for so long, it began to form holes and crack.
If they have to send the truck back, that's a loss. And they're trying to cover any losses that may incur on that project.
Action News obtained records showing concrete used in the area above I-75 sat in a truck for 3 long hours before being poured. Experts tell us concrete must be poured within 90 minutes. Forensic engineer Bill Bracken has serious concerns.
It would certainly reduce the durability. Depending upon the size of the hole, it could cause problems to the segment, given that it's under a tremendous amount of compression.
After reviewing thousands of documents, we found these drawings showing excessive cracking along several piers. Last April, an independent quality control manager reviewed PCL's concrete reports. He discovered PCL had reported that piers were up to specs, when in fact, they were actually failures.
They're covering up shoddy work.
Another inspector ordered a PCL superintendent to stop pouring bad concrete. But according to this report, the superintendent never discontinued the discharge of the concrete, even after he had been informed that the material did not meet requirements. That superintendent was fired, but Bracken still has concerns.
You know, the fact that you have superintendents out there doing whatever they want, irrespective of what the inspector's telling them, makes you wonder what else happened.
Bridge designer Fig Engineering is responsible for approving all changes and repairs on the project. Fig employee Michelle Roddenberry approved many of those repair directives, but our investigation reveals Roddenberry was not a licensed professional engineer.
Only a licensed engineer should issue a directive.
And she's been issuing a lot.
That needs to be looked at.
According to Florida law, a person may not practice engineering unless the person is licensed. Roddenberry has been signing engineer reports since 2002, even though she did not earn an engineering license until 2004. While reviewing Roddenberry's work, we discovered about a dozen repair directives missing, replaced instead with a sheet of paper saying the document does not exist. But we know at least 2 of those repair directives did exist at one time. After all, they were discussed during meetings.
It's also of a tremendous concern that you've shown me correspondence indicating that this did exist, and then to to request the records, to review the records, and find out that someone has inserted a slip of paper that says does not exist. What was it?
Are they destroying documents?
I don't know if it's destroyed. They sure didn't want you to see it.
And it gets worse. There's evidence that someone tampered with official documents. This report shows what type of concrete was used to build the bridge over I-75. Here's the original, and here's what the Expressway Authority gave us. Someone has altered the information. We presented our findings to the new leadership at the Expressway Authority, and they've promised to do a full investigation. But John says it won't matter to him unless the bridge is entirely rebuilt from the ground up. Are you going to drive your car on that expressway?
No, I'll take a different route.
Expressway officials promised to investigate these new allegations. We tried to get a statement from the bridge designer, Fig Engineering, but they did not return our calls. We should also point out that we told local DOT officials about these concerns several months ago, but they did not want to get involved at that time.
Now, Mike, the Department of Transportation is considering taking away this entire project from the Expressway Authority. Do you think your findings will make that more likely?
Well, it would definitely beef up their investigation and their case against the Expressway Authority. What they're looking at right now is the bonding issues. They're looking at whether the Expressway can pay for these repairs more than the actual engineering mistakes, but how can you deny what we just presented? They have to take a look at it. It's probably something the Board of Professional Engineers in Tallahassee is more likely to investigate than the DOT.
Right. Now, how do you figure the cost when you might have to go down and rebuild those sections of the bridge down the road sometime?
And I'm sure a lot of people won't be satisfied unless they tear that entire bridge down and build it back from the ground up.
That might be the case. Sure. Thank you, Mike.
Sure.